Okay, hi everyone. So you have given me about £301.65 this month, which means that you have paid for effectively 6 hours and 1 minute-ish of work time on free community projects. So this is coming through the Patreon, by the way. If you don't know, we have a system where the larger my Patreon income, the more time I spend working on free things for everyone in the community. So really, you collectively get to decide how much time gets invested into that, and it means I also get compensated for my time. So there is a bit of a backlog, like an overtime still being paid for, but that will clear pretty soon. What I would like to do is try and get one of the test versions of Biogen up for the patrons as a pre-release, even though it's lacking in geometry nodes content. And there are also other things. Hold on, if I swap here, you might be able to see slightly what I'm doing. I've got a wiki system powered by PureRef. I haven't really spoken about that yet. I should probably do a video about that at some point because it's really powerful. I'm just checking Holt tools as well. We could do some Holt tools. I think people really like the community material pack update, and there's actually quite a lot more for me to add there. But also, we got to think about the possibility of now starting new free projects. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we need to catch up on. EasyBPY needs a whole test case system built for it, but that's also kind of boring, and I don't know how much demand there is for that. Again, if you want things to exist, just let me know, but also you are collectively responsible for providing the conditions for that to happen. Like we said, even recently, we just had to shut down Blendstream because the funding's not there to hire someone to maintain it properly. So with £300, what am I going to do? Try and get a Biogen test version up. If I'm quick, maybe squeeze in a bit more community material stuff, and then maybe try something new. Some new resources, new test things. What could that be though? I suppose I could do something related to one of the larger products like Afterglow. Sorry that I'm not looking towards the camera. Got my Afterglow PureRef wiki system here now, because there's a whole world of things I want to do to update that, but I could do little sample tests for free for the community, like a free version, which could also be included in the Afterglow full-on pack. And that way we would kind of be providing things for everyone, and it might allow me to bump into new techniques that I wouldn't have found otherwise. There's always ways to link projects back to other projects, so yeah, maybe it might be worth doing. Or if I run out of time by then I won't be able to. So yeah, I'll get to it, and I'll record clips as I go, at little milestones. So stick around. All right, so what I've got here is what I could call the empty content version. So surface, mesh, and volume, stripped down version from the previous version of Biogen. In between the last version of this one, I found and fixed a kind of critical Linux bug with it that we didn't even know existed. So yes, if anyone was using Biogen before on Linux and could not get it working, then I apologize. But who the fuck uses Okay, I'm kidding. I shouldn't say that. I'm going to get so many angry people. This is an open source community. Of course people use Linux. But you'll never catch me using it for work, which is why I just don't bump into the issues. But I would like to start using it more. I've got enough old hardware to do it just for fun. But yeah, okay, so this is fine. I'll just package this up into a zip. We'll call it Biogen V10 skeleton alpha. Skeleton as in there's not really content to it. Just open local packs. Yes, it does. Just official. Still powered by the pack system. Oh, I can probably get rid of a bunch of these old files now. These are test files. I should make a backup before I do that though. Biogen 10 skeleton backup. Let's go back into it. We want everything except official gone. Reload. Content's still there. Apply. Yep, that applies. Fine. So really the purpose of making this available to people test-wise would be not really to use it for anything, even though you can, to make sure it installs properly, to make sure you can import what's there, and to maybe have a look at the node systems for, in particular, the Surface one, because this is the model, this is the model kind of visual of what we would want for the other geometry node setups, and just see whether it's readable, whether you can understand it. So I'll add that to the Patreon now, and then we'll catch up with it's only been 6 minutes. Great, I'm making good use of the time. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm just adding Biogen to the Patreon. So I'm calling it the skeleton test version, obviously. Now, I always have this thing where I don't like to spam people with emails. It's kind of necessary, the whole business side of things. I think I might inform people about this one. So I don't always inform the Silver Tier members and above when something gets added for them. But then I lose patrons and I think, should I have been pestering them to let them know? I want to respect your time and your inbox, but I suppose, doesn't really matter. I'm just spending some time working on free projects and decided to make a skeleton version of Biogen V10 available in a pre-release. However, this version is not populated with much geometry nodes content. is instead intended as a test to make sure the basic functionality works fine before we continue adding all different kinds of logic, or kinds of artistic logic. All right, adding the zip file to that post. Okay, so yeah, on Patreon, I can decide whether to inform the relevant people. Paid access starts here, so let me drag that down. So free people going to the Patreon can actually see this. So that's published, and now I've just got to add it to the site. So Patreon, save. Okay, so all in all, that has taken, we're about to hit 20 minutes to get that online, because I mean, I didn't really need to develop anything, just tidy that up quickly and then kind of add that. Let me just make a note in the work log as well. Next up, let's go back to community material, even though we've just done an update for that, because I've got quite a lot more to do on it. So we're in the community material pack now. So for version 4, I largely just did things that I wanted to do, right? Just solo things. But we did have a backlog of community submissions. So these are things that, as we can see here, that people have contributed, and some are appropriate and some may need, cleaning up and stuff like that. And if you, by the way, wanted to contribute something to the community material pack, join our Discord server, head on over to the community material pack forum, and then you can add one there. Thing is, it has been a while people submitted these, so I'm going to actually message them and ask them if they're still okay for me to put them in. In fact, one of them is no longer in the server, so I'm just going to delete that post. So I'm deleting their submission. Let's see, Thomas, I know you'll be fine with me putting yours in, so thank you very much. Hilly, I know you'll be fine. Slink, I know you'll be fine. I've messaged Marton. Wilson, you'll be fine. Donna, you'll be fine. Okay, that's cool. All right, let's do Thomas's then. Now I need to give Wilson a shout out, who I haven't spoken to in a while actually. Wilson was helping me clean up the material files from community submissions, but again, it's been so long because, obviously the incentive wasn't really there to work on free projects that, I just never got around to it. This is why it's kind of sad now looking back through these things going, oh, all this stuff that we were supposed to be doing that's now being enabled by the Patreon fund. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's see whether this is still functional. That's Eevee. Let's go to cycles. Let's take a look at Eevee. Okay, that works in Eevee, not cycles though. I wonder if there's any way to get it to work in both. Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind, but I might burn too much time trying to get that to work. So we're going to go to a flesh shader now by Marton. Interesting. Not bad. Kind of freaky. I think people will like it. Ugh. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, it was already marked as an asset, but let's do that again. Clear asset, mark as asset. Hopefully it re-renders a thumbnail. Oh my god, that is a complicated material. That's why it's so slow. This one, by the way, is contributed by Marton, but Blender is having trouble rendering a thumbnail for that one. Well, that's not bad. I just used the capture screenshot preview feature, which kind of just subverted the whole buggy mess of auto asset thumbnail generation, so that works all right. It's not transparent though, which is a shame, but way better than nothing. Cool. All right, next up, Simple Plastic by Marton. So let's see if I zoom in, more details. That's cool. It's kind of what I would describe as a liminal material. What I mean is the kinds of materials you see in liminal type environments, like kind of, polystyrene or textured plastic and paper and stuff like that. So that's cool though. I like that. It's kind of very subtle with its details. A little bit of specking as well. We'll add that. Now we've already got plastic, so I'll call this something else like plastic or speckled plastic. There we go. Oh, that looks really good on this test object. Look at that. Oh, Marton. C'est sublime. Very good. There you go. Rendered a new thumbnail for that. Very good. Next up, let's see. So we have the camo collection contributed by Marton, remixed by Wilson, added by Wilson. So there are 3 main variations. Okay, we can add all of them. To keep them together, though, I might name them slightly differently. So camo winter rather than winter camo, for example. Okay, that looks fine. Camo winter, camo sand, camo forest. Nice. The thumbnails look okay as well, so I can tag that as added. Now, Mossy Stone by Wilson. This looks quite interesting. Creator notes this material is best with some adaptive subdivision. Makes sense. Cool, cool. How does the moss value work here? 1, very mossy. 0, no moss. Okay, works fine. File, append. Mossy Stone. Nice. Oh, that looks really good. Oh, so many of these look amazing. Hang on. See. There we go. New good material thumbnail. Looks great. Oh, so I called Marton's plastic speckled plastic, but my friend Donna also has contributed a plastic material called speckled already. So we've got two that are going to be named the same thing, but they all look good. So let me download this one. I mean, yeah, this is obviously speckled as well, and you can change the colors on it. Great, that's quite creative. Maybe I'll call Marton's one textured plastic because they've actually got more of the bump going on. textured plastic by Marton. Where is it? It's this one here. Textured. Cool. And then we can append speckled blue, neutral, and orange. Fantastic. Good. Maybe I won't add plastic to the name. We'll just keep it speckled. Yeah, they all look good. Thank you, Donna. Now, apparently Marton had a scratched painted metal. Oh, this looks very good too. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've got like the beveling, and within the range we've got scratches. Now, if I was to modify this, I would probably add some noise variation on the bevel there, which I've done in other materials, but that's still pretty good. I think I'll leave it as it is for now rather than like modify that. But also anyone that downloads it can also modify it. Append. Let's go. Interestingly, it's having trouble generating a thumbnail for this one as well. Oh, I love that surface imperfection. And it's also not finding the edges, interestingly. Ah, okay. Well, modifying the pointiness there. I see, you've done it linearly. Then you've got an edge detect node. Okay, I might do things slightly differently if I was doing it, but I'm just going to leave that as it is because I'm sure people will still like it. Okay, there's a clay one by Wilson as well. Okay, fine. Now, we already have a basic clay, as in this one. I can call this clay styled. You can see how much it's been fired. Left in the kiln. All right, we're looking at the shared notion space. It looks like there's even more things to add that just hadn't been reviewed. I'm also going to message Wilson to let him know that I've been adding things. What I just sent Wilson was, Wilson, I know it's been a long time, but remember when you helped prepare materials for the community material pack? I finally added them. I'm sorry it took literal years. All right, next up, Nutty Chocolate by Donna. This is pink because obviously they're using an HDRI or something. I'll be able to assess it better in my own scene. All right, let's take a look. So there is displacement, but there's pink coming through. Why is there pink in my chocolate? Otherwise, the surface looks pretty good. It does look chocolatey. But yeah, where is the pink? Oh, it's the subsurf. So just don't add subsurf. Easy. Or, hang on. Easy, done. Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit. The strength of the displacement is why it's kind of doing that. But you do want it to be displaced for this kind of material. So I know it looks weird on this object, but it is appropriate. Let's add that as an asset. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that, especially around the lit surface there. All right, next up, sci-fi panels. Let's take a look. Again, pink, I imagine because of the HDRI. It's quite a lot of parameters here. Oh my God, what a behemoth of a material that is. Let's take a look. Interesting. It's a bit confusing to understand like what the white area is. Ah, so that's the panels. I see. Wait, hold on. I just turned on this plane and there's a material here that was never tagged as an asset. So there's been a secret material hiding in the pack the whole time. Oops. Okay, let's just grab this material. I see. So as you scale it up, there's this kind of interaction between the two types of panel layers, but the normal is throwing me off a bit on the other panels. Oh, so there's a panel amount value, but weirdly it's grayed out in Blender, which implies that it's not being used when it actually is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that on maximum because it would make more sense to people. I love the little emission as well. I think this is how we present it to people. Sci-fi panels. We'll mark that as an asset. Blender seems to have trouble generating thumbnails for Marton's materials. So if it doesn't want to generate it for this, I'll have to do the custom thumbnail thing again. Okay, cool. It has given us a thumbnail. Can mark that as included. Next, Hilly's hologram ghost material. Ah, I see. Okay, yeah. That could be good. Append, DL, material, ghost. Let's see. Oh, that is a really good thumbnail for the material. Love that. Gonna clear the keyframe on that. Factor. That's very unique. I like it. Well, I think people are going to have fun playing with this one. Okay, Marton also provided an asphalt material. Okay, putting aside the HDRI, that does look quite detailed. We've now passed over an hour of time, so that's 1 out of our 6 hours gone. I know it's a bit weird to apply it to an object like this, but again, damn, it looks good. Yeah, I'm sorry we were just sitting on these for ages and not actually like adding them to the pack, but that's what this whole Patreon system's for now. Get the impetus to actually work on these 3 projects. So I'm going to call it Asphalt, and I'm going to save it now because I know Blender's going to have a horrible time trying to produce a thumbnail for this one. Though it really doesn't like going in and out the rendered view on that. Yeah, I had to force close Blender for that one because it was not enjoying the process. Keeps crashing. Is there any way to do this without having it render a thumbnail? Blender devs, please. Materials, asphalt, markers asset. No, it's trying to do it again. Why are you trying to load Dino? Oh, it's going to crash again. Okay, so now it doesn't have one. Fine. Let me render this myself. Fine, I'll do it myself. Okay, that's been added. Slink apparently improved their glass. I don't know how different this is from the diffraction type one they had before, because we've got dispersion glass. I might rename dispersion glass just a glass dispersion. Wait, hold on, but that's not being dispersive now. Is that a change in Blender? Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. Well, the beta version does. So what if we replace the old dispersion with this new dispersion? Yeah, makes sense. Now I've actually got to do that. Clear asset. Where is dispersion glass? We're going to call it old, and then we're going to shift remove. And now we're going to get the better one, rename that dispersion glass, clean up, purge unused. There we go. I mean, it's very pretty glass. And now we've got to do the thing of marking it as an asset. Pray to the Blender gods. You can actually render a thumbnail. Fine. I don't think it's a very good thumbnail though. So I'm going to do it myself. There we go. Marton also had patterns that they organized into node groups. I also like doing patterns because I've got my, my procedural patterns pack, which is paid. Be nice to have these available though. What I could do is I could just put them into a patterns material, and then you'll know if you watch this, you'll be able to access a whole bunch of them from that. So I will name the material patterns collection. I know it's going to look weird on the surface of the object, but again, there is value in there. We just need to know the purpose of the material is to store node group patterns. Slink had a basic triplanar mapping material. Obviously, we've got better from Hex Scatter, but yeah, I can try and include that. Just sent Azzy a message to ask her if she'll be free to talk about Hex Scatter sometime as well, because that's just reminded me that we've got someone waiting for the 5.0 update for that, because we're rebuilding it from the ground up. So they were doing a diffusion type of triplanar mapping from the looks of it, which is not good for like displacement, but I suppose it's fine. Simple triplanar diffusion. Slink, I give Slink a hard time about his spelling, but really, egg blend. So I just spent a little while talking to Azzy, my collaborator on Hex Scatter, and we'll get back to work on it when we can, but there's some stuff happening with them at the moment. So, this is the thing with certain projects like BioGen and Hex Scatter, where you're collaborating with other people, is I can only do so much within a certain amount of time, and really most progress gets made when we can overlap our times of productivity. So I know there are people waiting for certain things, but, it's not all up to me. So simple triplanar diffusion has been added to Community Material Pack version 5. I'll make a note about that. And really, I think that's it on the material front for now. So I should try and get this uploaded for the patrons. To do that, I will need to pick a new material that might be good to show as the cover. I really like the textured plastic one. So maybe we'll do the thumbnail a bit like this. Yeah, zoomed in enough to see the texture going on. All right, well, the patrons are going to have a bit of a field day. Usually I don't really upload more than one thing in a day if I do have things ready to show, so this will be interesting. Version 5 of the Community Material Pack is now available in pre-release for Silver tier patrons and above. Okay, so that will be for Silver and above. Tagging, resource, and pre-release, and publish. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace V4 with V5 on the members lounge, because V4 is redundant now, and save that. Make a note of my work log. I will end up adding all of this to my spreadsheet document where I track the time to figure out when things should be released. Okay, cool. The question now is, we've got the BioGen pre-release up, we've got the Community Material Pack V5 pre-release up, and we still got a ton of time remaining. Looks like I've spent only about just over 1.5 hours so far out of our 6. So what to do for fun? I think fun would be new resources. I did say earlier about, doing some light tests. Afterglow-esque as a free pack. What would I call it? Afterglow would be the big ideal. And it would be something smaller, something more accessible. Afterglow, Native Instruments is a company that does audio things, and they've got their factory selection, they call it. I don't want to call it the same kind of thing, but Afterglow Lab? Should we call it that? Lab is used quite a lot, experimental. I like labs. I wanted to call something else lab once. I'm just spitballing at the moment. And the same principle could be applied to other things. Another large product, lab version. Modular metal, lab. If ambient grunge got bigger, which is what I want to do by integrating it with Hex Scatter, but ambient grunge labs. Hex Scatter labs, etc. Something like that. Maybe some other, synonym. All right, I went away, did some thinking, came back. I think starter is a better word rather than lab. Lab is just, I don't know, it doesn't really explain what it is, but starter is good. Afterglow starter, it kind of implies that it's a progression into something, but starter also maybe implies that you will learn something. It will get you started. So with things like the principles of emissive lighting, it might be appropriate. The demo scenes could teach something. And people will also not feel as excluded from the technology or Afterglow if they can't afford it. So they'll be yeah, I can sit comfortably in the starter. Maybe one day I'll pick up the full pack if I need to, but I still have something to use. So now I need to prepare a space for it on my computer. So I've got a file for it now, and I'll do it in the same way that I do Afterglow. This file will be like the main asset library file, but technically you would also be able to open it and play with it. So now I've got to decide what to make with it. I might as well go and access my Afterglow like wiki page for PureRef, and I don't necessarily want to show it all on the screen. I suppose I can show some things. Hang on, bring it up. What we're seeing here are some references from mostly Hitman and James Bond. What else have we got? Lighting studies, material studies, expansions for the studio, display case expansion, signage, glow branding, scenes to test, ideas, cave, windows, shape lighting, etc., etc. VFX type things. What if we start with like one environment space like this? I don't know what textures I have available, but we can do like it's structurally simple and then use it as a test environment space to do lighting. I could segment it again. You see how we've got glass here. Yeah, we'll turn it into like a lab scene of some kind and then see how it goes. All right, I'm jumping ahead now. It's been a few days since that last clip, and I ended up burning up the rest of the time on this scene, which I should talk about a bit more in a different video, like a dedicated one. What I ended up doing was I built this environment. It's an enclosed environment that I'm calling the Black Sands. So this is quite different from the idea I started with, but it's because the more I sat down with it, I was like, yeah, we can actually do so much with this. So the Black Sands is like a balanced environment with a bit of like a spacey vibe to it that demonstrates how you can use emissive lighting in creative ways, and there's like different control mechanisms for things like volumes. It's all very dynamic and reactive, and it'll be a good place to play with mapping as well. These are placeholder lights. It's called the Black Sands because the environment has this almost dune-like look to it, with obviously very black sands, and it's a fun place to like, you know, play around with different angles. It's a bit like when people with Unreal Engine, they make resources, they make environments to show people how things work, and I feel like this could be a good version of that for like, you know, Afterglow type things. The scans come from the Smithsonian and NASA on Sketchfab. This one was either a piece of meteorite or moon rock, but I've got the credits for the scans down in a text file. So there is a space vibe to it, but I also wanted to put something life related, but obviously since we don't have alien life, went for a giant sloth, I believe it is. Again, I think it's going to be something that people will enjoy playing with and can adapt it however they like, because it really doesn't take much time of playing around to, you know, like discover new vibes for which you can substitute the, you know, template objects for ones of your own. So yeah, I'll talk a bit more about that soon. If you made it to the end of this rather rambly video, put a package emoji in the comments. Consider signing up to the Patreon if you're able to help increase the wage, and I will see you soon.